So I've been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Legends recently, and as a result, I was chatting with some people on Reddit, on the Elder Scrolls subreddit, and they were saying that they were looking for some new content, new player content, things to help people kind of break into the game, explain to them the mechanics of the game. Some people specifically were interested in Arena, so this is going to be my crack at that. I recently on stream had a arena run where we got 7 wins. As part of the run, I explained every draft pick in detail, and so this video clip is going to show all of the highlights of that. You're going to get to see every draft pick made and the thought processes that went behind it. A couple of the games played so you can see the final deck in action. And yeah, I apologize in advance. The video is kind of long. It turns out that the arena run takes a little bit longer when you explain every draft pick in detail, but hopefully the new players find it really helpful. If you're a veteran player, hopefully you kind of just see what it's like to think through, I guess, an arena draft through somebody else's point of view. But either way, I hope you enjoy it. If you like the video, then let me know. I would be happy to produce some more videos like it. If you want to see a similar video but different content, whether it's constructed or different ideas or concepts about the game, also let me know. This is kind of my first crack at it, so hopefully it's helpful and you guys got suggestions for me for more. Thanks and enjoy. So of the choices, we tried archery yesterday. That went horrible. We're only provided one option with intelligence, which is my default go-to, so we are going to just select assassin. Intelligence, again, has access to the most board clears, good card draw, some last gas mechanics, good prophecy. It's just all around a good arena class. Crusader could be good if you get the right setup, right? Like it's like Archer. If you get the right cards, it looks amazing. You can just smork somebody to death. If you don't get the right cards, though, it feels subpar. So we're going to go with Assassin because it tends to be the most consistent. Alright, so right out of the gate we get kind of 3 subpar choices for a rare. Malefic Wreath is removal, and that's probably where I'm leaning. Slaughterfish spawning, you know, if they didn't have 1 health, it would be significantly better, right? It basically creates a Slaughterfish, right, which you can see with the tooltip here. That's a 1/1, and it gets +2/+0 at the start of your turn. So if they both live, then you get like 2 3/1s out of it with the chance to grow. But the big problem is the 1 health. It's way too easy to kill them. They've got like no attack power at the start. Like, I would almost prefer if they were instead like 1/3s that grew by 1 attack power per turn. The 1 health is just meh. This, we have no idea if we're going to get supports. Worst case scenario, it technically activates off of the Magicka Potion you get if you go second, but that's not enough to bank on, so none of these are really great choices, but this one's the most versatile, so we're going to go with that. Wow, we're off to a wonderful start. Shadow Shift has great utility, and the fact that it draws a card is actually decent. Similarly, Tome of Alteration has some great utility, and it draws a card. Thievery is okay, right? It goes to the face, does damage, gains 3 health, but doesn't really do much else for you. So it's really between these two, so you're kind of deciding between utility and early card cycle or additional power with card cycle. We're probably going to take the Tome, if only because this one is also going to more likely make an impact than moving the friendly creature will. Not to say this couldn't, right? If we knew more of what we had, we might pick this, but this is going to be the safer option. I'm not a huge fan of this guy because he loses trades too easy. I'm not a huge fan of this in Arena because it just kind of doesn't do anything. So we are going with the only body. Alright, now our first real decision. I love this guy, but right now we only have 1 intelligence card, so it's kind of rough. I love Harpy. The prophecy is great. It's a decent body. Even if something's bigger than this, The fact that it also has Shackle makes wonderful trades, and he's one of my favorite one-drops in the game, just because of his ability to potentially trade up or potentially create 2-for-1s if you're trading with another 1 health thing and killing something else. So, given our options, we're probably going to go with Harpy here, just because of the Prophecy trigger. Alright, so now we have 2 1-drops, right? They're literally the same stats, so like if we were going to pick one, we would take the guard one, just because it's agility based, so it's more likely to have more synergies. Finish off is also very good though, so I'm thinking we're likely going to take finish off here. Oh, I almost always take the Witch, except for in this case because of Firestorm. You always take your board clears. 2 damage to everything in a lane is great, Prophecy is great, Witch is great too, but in this case we take the board clear. This is actually another tough decision between both the Soul Split and the Bat. Soul Split lets you take subpar creatures and turn it into at least 2 mediocre creatures. Lets you trade or attack with a creature and then turn it into 2 additional ones. Like, it's got like good synergy. The Bat having charge is really good, and the Bat having drain is really good. I think we're probably going to go with the Bat just because we, as of right now, don't have any other synergies with this. Like, if we had more Last Gasp guys, like if we had, instead of taking the Harpy, taken the 1-drop, this might be a stronger consideration, but for now I think we're going to go with the Bat. Alright, so back to the explanations. This is a no pick, because this is the same thing but with a body. So it's between this and this. In this case I like to err on the side of 2 drops. I like to have lots of 2 and 3 drops to play on curve. So when we look at these, again, I'm not a huge fan of this guy because he loses trades, so it's between these 2. I can go either way. They're both solid. He is annoying, and the ward really helps a lot. The charge and the drain really help a lot. Just to kind of stay heavy on 2 drops, I think we're going to take this guy. Looking at our choices, again, we have 2 cards that replace themselves, very similar to before. The only difference is now we actually have a 3rd option. While he's kind of lackluster, no stats, he's just a body. We're probably still going to take him because, again, I like to put an emphasis on making sure we have enough 2 drops, and we already took 1 tome. Alright, now another real decision. So, we have 1 item, so he technically has synergies, and he is a 2-drop, so he's not a bad choice. We have Ash Servant, that's a 2/2 that does 2 damage to an enemy creature when you summon him, which is amazing, amazing, amazing. So, looking at our 3rd option, we have Solarest Marshal, who, if you get this trigger, can be such a huge tempo swing. He's a 4/4 for 5, stats are kind of mediocre for 5, but they're not horrible. But the fact that you also get to then play something for 6 or less, potentially, is huge. I think in this instance we're probably going to take Ash Servant just because he trades 2-for-1 typically. Earlier we were not able to take the Witch because we had to take Firestorm. In this instance we're going to take the Witch. Elixir can be good, but at 5 and not impacting the board it's not great. And then at Solarest Marshal again, we kind of spoke to his benefits, but I don't think they're as viable as the Witch. This is a no-brainer as well. Items are going to be hit or miss in Arena. He is 6 for a body with only 3 health, so he loses trades pretty easily, and each player draws the cards. A lot of times you don't want to give people more options. Meanwhile, the Snake will shackle everything in a lane, like he locks them down. So this is oftentimes a really big tempo swing, so we take the Snake. So half our deck right now is Intelligence, so we got a decent chance of triggering this. Right now the choices would be between Ally and Harpy. I could go either way on this. If I had my preference, I would draft 1,000,000 Harpies because I think it's really that good, but this guy has the potential to create 2-for-1s whereas the Harpy is typically just a 1-for-1 trade. The Prophecy does make this attractive, but just his potential alone, I think, makes the ally the pick here. Alright, so we have 2 mana 4/4, who has a Last Gasp that gives our opponent a 2/1 guard. So you get an aggressive creature early with a drawback. Then we have 5 mana for a 5/4, and after it attacks, give it cover. This guy's really good at staying alive. And then we have draw a copy of a friendly creature. This thing, if it was on a snake or on an Ash Servant, could be really good, but the rest are kind of just mediocre bodies. So I don't think that this is really worth it. So it comes down to these two. His drawback, like, he's good if you draw him early, but he also has a drawback where this almost has no drawback and we don't have any top-end creatures, so I feel like he has to be the pick here. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Ice Spike in Arena. I'm not a huge fan of Thievery. Like, it has its uses, but it doesn't. Neither of these impact the board. This definitely impacts the board. Not only do we have no like top-end cards, but he is a potential board wipe, and we strongly emphasize board wipes. So we're going to take the Reaper in this instance. Alright, we get another choice for epics. We have Wisdom of the Ancients. It gives all our stuff keywords, and it has Prophecy. Has the potential to do good things, but it kind of requires you to have things in place. Doesn't impact the board by itself, so this is probably not the pick. Which then leaves us between Leaf Lurker and Wisp Mother. Wisp Mother has the potential to be really strong late game. It's a 5/5 for 7. The stats are not like ultra great at 7, but then every time you play a 2-drop, right, and we got a fair amount, you put a copy of it in the other lane. So if you've kind of stalled the game and it's relatively even, he has the potential to let you snowball out of control at the end. But he also requires kind of a lot to go your way to do it. Leaf Lurker, meanwhile, is a 4/3 for 5, but he destroys a wounded enemy creature, which is more likely to happen. So I think Leaf Lurker is the pick here. I think you're going to get more out of him more frequently than we will Wisp Mother, right? So we're going to go with this. 3 choices. This actually can be really effective. It's basically, it's an interesting card because it's 0 magicka, but it's as good as whatever you put it on. So if you're early game and you got something like this and you're also attacking against something like this, then it's as good as this, right? You play it on this, you take the trade but your guy lives, so it's as good as this. But the later the game goes, even though it's cost 0, the more value you get out of it because it's much more significant to say trade a 5/5 into a 5/5 and let yours live, right? Like it's an interesting card and it certainly has value. At this point, the 1-drops, we're basically kind of avoiding them. I don't think that this is going to be worth our time, especially with 1 health and no other effects. So we're between these two. Either one of them are good picks. They both help feed our Cunning Ally synergy. We've got a fair number of 2-drops, so I'm actually leaning towards this because, again, this one is only ever as good as a 2/3, whereas this is as good as whatever you played on. So we're going to go with this. So now we've got another 2-drop, or another 1-drop that's a 2/1 body. This one has Drain instead. I've seen this guy be very effective in the right decks, right builds, right situation, but I think he's too situational for us to value here, so then in my mind it comes down to these two. 4/1 for 4, stats are lackluster, but he does replace himself when drawn, and then when he dies, he puts another copy of himself into your deck that is a 0-cost version. So you eventually hit a point where you just keep playing 0-cost versions. You know, he's free. Like he's a long-term investment. Of, you know, given 30 cards, chances of drawing him and then redrawing him are pretty slim. Meanwhile, this would give us a second Witch. Gives us another 2-drop, and again, the Witch is just really, really good. I value the -1/-1 a lot because it gets around Ward. It plays with combat math, so I think we're going to go with the Witch. So looking at our choices here, we have the Headmaster, which again I'm just not a big fan of in Arena. So then we look at our other 2 options. Dark Rift. It's a 2-drop, it's a support, and it pokes the opponent for 1. And if you do all 5 pokes, then you get a Storm Atronach, which is the 7/5 Ward Atronach for free. So this is like a long-term investment support. I'm not a huge fan of it just because, like, if you can get it and you can play it early before it's too huge of a tempo loss, you're fine. But typically, you want to play dudes, right, on turns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. to keep up with the board. So by the time you're playing this with like your leftover mana or as an afterthought, let's say you do it on like turn 5, you play a 3-drop and then this. Well, then you got to wait 5 more turns before you get your Storm Atronach. So it's not like it gets you the Storm Atronach any faster. It's just kind of a 5 free damage over time, and then you get your Atronach. Whereas this guy is just always good. I'm very rarely disappointed with him. 7 health is very, very strong, especially at 5 mana. He can attack twice, so he can go face and kill a dude, kill 2 dudes. He's got a lot of versatility. If you pump him with, say, like a Tome, he gets that much more insane. So I think that this is for sure the pick. A second Reaper, a Crystal Tower Crafter, or a Camlorn Hero. He does 2 damage to your opponent when you summon him, and he's a 4/2, so he's relatively aggressive for 3. It's not horrible. The Crafter has the potential to be really good. We only have 4 actions right now, though. So the chances of getting a lot of value out of this are pretty slim. At this point, we kind of just treat this as a 2/2 for 2. And then again, we don't have a lot of big drops, so we're relatively safe taking it, and he has the potential to serve as a board clear and or just mess with math, so I think he's going to end up being the pick again. Move something, maybe a Soul Split or a 2-drop. I think we're going to err on the side of the 2-drop. Oh, now we got a real decision again. So Dark Rift, I kind of already explained previously why I'm not a huge fan of it. So now we're left with Leaf Lurker, which we've drafted 1 of, right? Or the Sadras Agent. Now, Sadras Agent is a 4/2 guard, and then when he dies, you get another 2/1 guard. I'm a big, big fan of this guy. Even more so, I think, in this situation, because we already have 1 Leaf Lurker. But for 1 less Magicka, we only get 1 less stat, but then we also get another body out of it. So I think we're going to go with this guy and never look back. All of these are pretty decent. This guy not as much, just because we don't have a lot of 7-drops, so we're going to rule him out right away. So now it's our... I like him generally more than this guy because the lethal, I think, gives him more utility. But when we're looking at our curve here, we're actually kind of short on 3-drops. Prophecy doesn't matter because it's a prophecy in both instances. So now it's a question of, do I value a 3-drop more than I value lethal? And I think the answer is no. I think I still value lethal. Because even though he's only 2 Magicka, this guy trades up forever, whereas he's relatively only better if you're playing him on turn 3. If you're playing either of these on turn 5 or 6, this guy's likely still going to be better for you. So I think we still go with this. So now it's an actual real decision. Again, I'm a big fan of this guy. I never have problems with taking more than 1. He's got Prophecy, he's got Guard, he's got Lethal. He impacts the board pretty much every time you play him. But we don't have a lot of beef, like at all. You can see we're very heavy in 2-drops already. And then after that, we're pretty consistent. We don't have any 6-drops. So while he's a very generic vanilla, just 7/5, I feel like we have to take this. We only have 5 picks remaining after this, and we need some beef for the late game. So while I'm a huge fan of this guy, and it actually pains me inside to not take a second one, I think we have to take the beef here. Swiftstrake has the potential to be really good, especially if you have Pilfer creatures, but we don't have any. So we're probably going to rule this out, which then leaves us with Skooma Racketeer. Lets us give something lethal. Very often lets you trade up with like 1 attack or 1 power creatures. I really, really like this guy. Add a worst case scenario, he can just be played as a 2/2 lethal for 3. I also really like Cliff Racer. He often creates 2-for-1s because he can feast on smaller dudes and then leave you with presence on the board. He also messes with combat math because, you know, he's a free 4 damage to the face that somebody's not accounting for while he's in your hand, right? So I love Cliff Racer and I love Racketeer, and I could go either way. Technically, the Racketeer is the better curve play, right? We typically want at least I do, I want my curve to kind of be like this slow linear drop off. But I feel like the Cliff Racer gives us better value. Though, the Racketeer does let you trade up. This is actually a really tough decision. I'm not sure that there's a wrong pick. I think we're going to go with Cliff Racer. Again, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these, but I think we're going to go with this. In this instance, again, to help with curve, I think we take the bat. We already have one tome. We don't have a ton of actions to really get the synergy out of this, and a 4/4 for 5, especially when it doesn't charge like Cliff Racer to feed on smaller things, I think leaves this as a liability, so we go with the bat. So this guy is a 3/4 who does 2 to a friendly creature. He's most often a 3/2. A lot of times you just play him and do the damage to yourself. This guy, again, helps out the curve. He's Prophecy. He helps feed the Cunning Ally synergies because we've drafted a lot of agility since that. I think that just because of the Cunning Ally synergies and Prophecy, this guy wins out here. Tough call. I like all of these. I like this because it helps with curve and he's at least got some meat. I like Firebolt just because it's Firebolt. And I'm a big fan of this guy because he early game has the potential to give you 2-for-1s. That being said, again, we're kind of still in that theme of we need more meat, and this one affects our curve the least. I think we just go with this. I like all of these. I kind of talked about Roy. I'm not as much of a fan of him because of the 1 health. Looking at these, this guy has the potential to be a real value. He's a 3/4 guard for 4, but he becomes a 5/6 if there's a wounded creature in that lane. 5/6 guard for 4 is value if you can get it. This guy is almost like a 2-for-1. Unless something's just outright much larger than this, he very rarely doesn't trade with something. Like 3 attack is generally enough. And then you get an action out of it, right? So like you still net yourself a card. Given, again, we kind of need some more intellect cards, and this is our last pick, given that we get a random action, and that action could potentially swing things for us in our favor, I think we're going to go with him over this. But just like our pick like 2 or 3 picks before, I don't think there's technically a wrong one here. Just my gut tells me stay on curve, try to feed your synergy. So alright, here we go. We have finished our draft. Okay, so mulligans. He's a late game drop. I can't keep this really because I need a body for this to work. And even though I could play this as early as turn 2 and potentially kill something, I kind of want bodies, right? So I think in this instance we actually just send them all back and look for some 2-drops. See, that worked out much better, right? And look at our draws. If we wouldn't have sent the last one back, likely wouldn't have got this. So now, because we're going second, we get a 1-drop technically, right? Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. We're going to start with this over here. Even though we'll want to get rid of this eventually before he like throws an item on it, this doesn't trade in immediately, so let's put it in a place where we can get pressure, and we can put this guy over here and he'll just take it out in the same amount of turns anyway. Well, scratch that. Change of plans. While we were going to play this here so that we could attack in, next turn he can hit this and survive. We want to avoid that. So instead we'll go with this here to pump. So now this guy doesn't trade unless he plays another card, and this can at least start working on this. So this ends up being the better play. You can draw. Woo! I'm a wizard.
The watch is mine.
Oh.
It's nothing personal.
All right. So this has the potential to be really annoying. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play this over here.
Let's shed some light on the problem.
And we did get the proc. So to just get this out of the way again before he has the chance to put an item on it, we are going to go ahead and get it out of the way. The fact that it has a 5 health and has regen means at the start of his turn it heals back to full every time, which is not inconsequential. And once he takes and puts like just one item on it, any item, right? It makes, or that, right? Or Divine Fervor. Then it becomes something that can attack, and it becomes something that becomes significantly annoying, right? So that goes there. This goes here. Alright, we could in theory play this and this if we wanted to saturate. But then we're kind of like banking on that. Or we could just... This is the safer play. Because I like being reactionary with this guy, right? Because he has guard and ward. So we're going to go with the safer play. Even though this saturates our Magicka, which is generally what you want to do. Because that's how you know you're getting the most value, right? The most bang for your buck. This Divine Fervor has the potential to be a real problem. We did not end up with any of the cards that kill support cards.
We must break through their ranks.
Oh, alright. So this is why I like playing in a reactionary fashion when possible. So
Can't you see I'm busy?
we know that we're gonna end up cracking 2 runes here, so I would like to do that first. And then we're gonna respond like this. So now, unless he buffs it yet again, right? We've now protected our investment. Thankfully, he's in a set of traits, willpower and endurance, that shouldn't be able to give this --. There is execute in willpower, but we're not at 2 power or less anymore because we have buffed the guy. So unless he has like javelin or something that just outright destroys him, we should have adequately protected him for now. Penny, if you're still lurking there, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but I got a second job. I'm going to start teaching college courses soon, which is pretty exciting, at least to me. Alright, so that guy's going to be a problem. He's likely going to force us to trade 2 for 1 into that. Well, we know we're doing this. We know we're doing this. Alright, so as we think about what our plays are, right? We could just play a Centaur here and continue to try to rush this lane. We could play a giant snake here, which shackles this to prevent damage to us, buys us a turn, and then on the next turn we could in theory then play Reaper and then trade both the snake and this into this guy, which is a lot to invest, but it also gets rid of a 7/7, right? I feel like at this point though, because we have the health advantage, that we just want to try to race and pass. So if he attacks us, we're going to get a rune and draw a card anyway, and we've got a health cushion. If he attacks into this, then we were going to attack into that anyway.
It's time.
We don't really lose much with that investment. Also, by buying a turn, we in theory can have this attack into this, trading and giving us a random action that could potentially kill this outright. So I think there was a lot of reasons why waiting... See, by waiting, we now shackle a lot more, right? We get significantly better value out of our snake in this instance. Oh! I think he thought he had 4 guys, but the guard, I think, threw him off, right? He only had... So the card he played is Imprison. Shackle a creature. If you have 4 or more willpower creatures, destroy it. He had 1, 2, 3, and I think he might have thought he had 4 when he didn't, which is kind of funny. All right, so we know we're going to make this trade. Let's just do this now and see what we get. Heal all friendly creatures in lane, give them +1/+1. Alright. We know that we're gonna crack this rune. Let's just get this out of the way. Ugh! The value! We know a couple of different options now. So we could attack in, use Finish Off to get rid of it. That leaves us with 5 mana to play the snake. Yeah, I think that's the play. Impossible. Alright, so the javelin certainly sucks. as does that. But the good news is that he's kind of exhausted a lot of his resources, so... we're going to go ahead and do this. We know we're going to kill this because we can't afford to let him keep buffing stuff. It's just a question of, do I want to keep this thing alive that bad? I feel like the answer is yes, because we've got a lead on the board. Because now, unless he buffs this to kill this outright, we can also get a heal off and pump the squad, potentially. The other option being playing this here, and then we can pump to force the trade to get it to 3. We got a couple of different options. So he gets a 3/6 that buffs and gets breakthrough. So he... oh, see, he had the pump anyway. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, let's crack this rune. And then I think we're gonna go with this. Now if we play the cat and he doesn't respond in some way, whether it's killing the cat, shackling the cat, or playing a guard, then we actually have lethal next turn, because we can give him +1/+1 and then attack twice. Or at least potentially lethal. He will have the 1 rune crack. The other option here would be to play the bat and then play the heal, because it would put this out of reach of immediately trading here. So do we play to win or do we play it safe? I think we play to win, right? Go for the victory.
Khajiit is ready to help.
Ah, there's the guard. He's trying to decide if he wants to go face or if he wants to kill my guy. He decides to go face. That's very interesting. Alright, so because of that, we got a lot of options now. I was just planning on playing these two, one to pump the squad and this guy to kill this, but now we got a lot more to work with. Instead, I actually think we go Ash Servant here, kill this, bat, and then plea. Right? This gets this out of the way. Because that allows the... yeah. Right? This gains us some health and gets rid of it, and so now, barring a prophecy trigger... oh! No javelin! No javelin!
Death comes to us all.
Wow. Still saved him. Alright, so we basically, at this point, if he doesn't kill us, we're still going to win. The Cliff Racer gives us the versatility to do this final 4
Try this on for
one way or the other, right? So it was still a quality turn last turn. I think he only temporarily bought himself some time. He can only do 6 to us. He can't attack into this.
My arrows are sharp.
He doesn't have enough to kill this.
By the aid, a fine battle.
Racer,
We'll stand together.
Agent.
By dawn and dusk, I move as a shadow.
I don't know if this gets you more XP or not, like it does in Hearthstone, like taking more actions, doing more stuff, but we'll do it anyway, just in case. But alright, GG. Starting with a win right out of the gate, guys. Alright, because we're 6-1, we got 2 chances. Yeah, I think we keep this. It's all early stuff. Mirror match. This is going to be rough. We got 2 chances to try to hit our 7th win. It's not going to come easy at this point because we should be paired against other people with 6 wins. So seeing as we're staring at another assassin build person, likely on
Dawn and dusk, I move as a shadow.
likely on 6 wins, it's going to be, I expect, a pretty tight game. Or he'll
Our
steamroll us.
voices will not be taken.
Fair.
Let's shed some light on the problem.
Feel my sting.
Alright, we'll do that. Take the free damage, because if he trades in, then we have Firebolt. Not a complete lost cause.
I do love a good
Ah, he got some of those. They're a rare, but sometimes you can still pick up like a couple of them in Arena, and that card is just so good. It makes me happy inside. Let's force him to make the trade instead of us. So we'll just crack the rune. And
By dawn and dusk, I move as a shadow.
do that. That actually may... Oh, he took it in. It may have been a play mistake by us. If he would have actually just killed this, then I still would have had that to deal with, and I'm likely going to Cliff Racer this turn, right? So there was a chance that that could have been a play mistake,
Feel my sting.
but it thankfully worked out.
If I fall, the hist will
Feel my sting.
Alright, we know we're doing that.
The
Yeah,
valor of
and we'll do
Nerevar
that.
is with me.
We just have to hope that this doesn't kill this. Because we know he's going to come in with this, right? We just have to hope that this guy then doesn't kill this or this. Ideally, it either goes face or here. We want it to go face. If he swings in with this, we want it to go face for sure. Ah! Alright. So the reason we wanted that guy to stay was because if we Chorused next turn, then he could have traded in. So that was why we wanted the face there.
Feel my sting.
Instead, we're going to likely do Agent with a Ward. We'll wait on our Steel Sword. We had a 2/3 chance of it going better than what it did, but it's alright. So far, my prediction is correct, though. It is a very tight game. He's sitting on 5 cards in hand. I'm sitting on 5 cards in hand. Board states are relatively similar health.
Let's shed some light.
Attempting your first raid, you died instantly.
The elements are mine to control.
I thought you were getting tired, and now you're telling me you're over there raiding? Alright, so this works out really well for us, because this guy is a pain if we don't have this, right? But we also know we're gonna crack runes, so I want to get that part out of the way now.
Feel my sting.
Alright, now it's safe. So this works out very well, because not only do we get rid of this, don't have to deal with it, but now this trades here. So that's huge for us. Ah, quality play by him. Alright, we don't have a silence. Even if we attack in and blow it up, he's going to kill everything in lane because we don't have a silence. I think we just eat it there, so...
Feel my
This is
sting.
going this way.
Die, swift.
We at least get the legend out of the way. I think we go... Probably... Centaur... Bat. Oh, he's gonna nuke our Centaur. Alright.
Feel my sting.
We're not quite to lethal, because we do have 5 we can do. That puts us at 7. A Chorus here means you'd have to double trade into it, but this guy will be... Yeah, this is probably the right play. And then pass. So this guy's in cover, so they can't double trade in anyway. This just gives us the most efficient ways to try to threaten lethal next turn. So we've got it. So even if he has a prophecy here, right? He would have had to kill this, which would have given us a sword that we could have then thrown on our bat.
By the egg, a fine battle.
A fine display.
For the Reach, let us stand together.
So there we go. That was really close until the Chorus turn. That honestly completely swung it in our favor. We got rid of a high-quality investment for Magicka Epic that, you know, enforced unfavorable board position for the other trade. 100% turned the course of that game for us, and then he just was too far behind.
Finish deserves to be rewarded.
Alright, so, hey! Good rewards there. I'll take it. This should be 3 packs, if I remember right, for 7 wins. Decent amount of gems. And a promotion reward. So we actually even have to do 2 more arenas if we wanted.